Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. 4 people are dead after fast-moving thunderstorms slammed southeastern Texas last night. The storm knocking out power for more than 900,000 homes and businesses in the Houston area overnight. Officials urging residents to stay off roads as many are impassable and traffic lights are expected to be out.
I think it was a very interesting day. It was a fascinating day, and it shows what a scam this whole thing is.
Donald Trump's hush money trial adjourning for the week so he can attend his son Barron's high school graduation in Florida. Yesterday, Trump's defense attorney cross-examined Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney and the prosecution's key witness. 2 House committees voting to advance contempt of Congress proceedings against Attorney General Merrick Garland, paving the way for a full House vote. Republicans subpoenaed the Justice Department to turn over audio recordings of President Biden to the president. Biden is asserting executive privilege over the recordings. The Country Music Awards were last night, and Jordan Davis's song Next Thing You Know taking home the Song of the Year. Also a big night for Lainey Wilson, too, winning Top Entertainer of the Year and Female Artist of the Year. And Jason Aldean delivering a highly anticipated tribute to late country music star Toby Keith. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez with you here on a Friday morning, and some better weather for Milwaukee and Chicago. Sunshine and drier today. Milwaukee's in the 60s, but Chicago is 73 degrees. Des Moines in the 80s today. Still rain in Indianapolis, but the thunderstorms are moving away from Kansas City. We'll continue to see areas of showers and thunderstorms produce some threats of severe weather and heavy rain in the south. More on that coming up.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. I'm Bree Driscoll. Today is Friday, May 17th. Our top story, at least 4 people are dead in Texas after a dangerous storm system rolled through the south overnight. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, all facing damaging wind, rain, and flooding today. Spectrum News anchor Jenna Enoch joins me now with more on how these storms impacted states like Texas and Louisiana. Jenna.
Bree, we're watching these dangerous storms pack a heavy punch for the second day in a row. And keep this in mind, these storms are bringing intense flooding. Now, Texas is already waterlogged from recent storm systems, so there's nowhere for all of this water and rain to go. The Weather Prediction Center says Texas hit a rare level of rain, leaving many areas drenched and so many facing the dangers of flash flooding from these rounds of storms. In Houston weather, at least 2 of those deaths were caused by falling trees, and another happened when a crane blew over in strong winds. A building partially collapsed and some skyscrapers have shattered windows. In this video, you can see the storm debris flying around the Wells Fargo Plaza in Houston. Witnesses say they were inside one of the Houston buildings when they heard the building start to fall apart from the storm. Now, nearly 1 million homes and businesses were without power in Texas yesterday. Lights were flickering on and off, and strong winds knocked the power out to so many. So this morning, those people remain without power and a long road of cleanup ahead as areas remain drenched and flooded. Now people in Texas are looking to pick up the pieces. Bree, back to you.
Jenna Enoch, thank you very much. Former President Donald Trump on a break from the courtroom and in Minnesota and Florida today. In Florida, Trump will attend today. Barron is set to graduate from Oxbridge Academy, a preparatory school in Florida. No word yet on where the youngest Trump plans to go to college. Now, after the ceremony, Trump will head to Minnesota for a Republican fundraiser tonight, where he will headline the state GOP's annual Lincoln Reagan dinner, which coincides with the party's state convention. As the criminal hush money trial continued yesterday, Trump's legal team resumed its cross-examination of Michael Cohen, painting him as a liar during hours of testimony. Ariana Harry has been covering the trial from inside the courthouse. She joins me now. Now, you were there for this face-to-face back and forth between defense and Cohen. They're basically trying to paint him as a revenge-filled liar. How were they able to orchestrate that? Were there any moments that really stood out to you?
Absolutely. They're actually using Michael Cohen's own words against him. So, for example, yesterday the jury heard a punch is a dish best served cold. And he said, yes, he does want this man to go down. So that's part of the ways in which the jury is getting to hear Michael Cohen's words outside of the courtroom, because inside the courtroom he's been very calm and very collected. But we all know that Michael Cohen has a fiery personality. He is outspoken, and so the jury is getting to see a little bit of that through some of his own words and his own recordings.
But these are previous recordings. That was my next question for you. You know, when you call somebody a revenge-filled liar, it usually doesn't go over well. Is he able to maintain his composure during all of this?
He is absolutely maintaining his composure. In fact, there was one moment where the defense attorney, he leaned in, he grabbed the microphone, he raised his voice. And Michael Cohen, you did not see a visible reaction from him at all. He has been calm, he's been steady, and he's been answering the questions directly. And in fact, he's been calling Todd Blanche sir throughout all of this. Former President Donald Trump certainly seemed to be paying close attention yesterday, but there were other parts of Michael Cohen's testimony where the former president had his eyes closed and it looked like he might have been asleep. So he hasn't always been paying close attention to all of Michael Cohen's testimony, but during those fiery moments, he was certainly watching this back and forth. And
we've known him to close his eyes throughout these proceedings.
Yes.
So he didn't seem to be that much more engaged, but only during those moments,
only during those really intense moments. Then he seemed to be leaning forward and listening closely.
Now, the judge yesterday also told lawyers to be ready to deliver their summations as early as Tuesday. What does this mean for the timeline of this entire trial?
This timeline is moving faster than we initially expected. So Michael Cohen is back on the witness stand Monday. There's still going to be more cross-examination, and then prosecutors get an opportunity to try and correct some of the things that he perhaps may have left unclear during cross-examination. He's for the prosecution, and it's unclear if the defense will call any witnesses. So it could be Michael Cohen on Monday, and then, as you said, closing arguments Tuesday.
Ayanna, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yesterday, the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees voted to advance contempt of Congress proceedings against Attorney General Merrick Garland.
On this vote, the ayes are 24, the nays are 20.
The motion passes. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby adopts the report recommending that the House of Representatives find Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress.
Republicans subpoenaed the Justice Department to turn over audio recordings of special counsel Robert Hur's interview with President Biden. The president has asserted executive privilege over the audio recordings. The vote paves the way for a full House vote on holding the Attorney General in contempt, although it is unclear when that vote could take place. Exchanges that took place during a House hearing yesterday.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability. We'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez. We still have a risk of severe storms in parts of the south today. We also have a flood risk continuing. Florida is heating up. We have temperatures in the 90s with higher humidity, and that results in heat index values over 100 degrees, up to 105 in some parts of South Florida. Now, the risk of severe storms would include some damaging wind or hail in parts of Montana and the Dakotas. We also still have that risk and in North Florida, especially this morning as some of those severe storms move in. Places like Houston, though, had severe weather yesterday, so we have so many people still without power, and there were some wind gusts close to 80 miles per hour there. Now, as we take a look at Saturday, the risk of severe storms stretches from about Panama City, Apalachicola to Jacksonville, Florida. That's up into Savannah, Georgia, and it also includes parts of South and North Carolina tomorrow. So we have these showers and storms working their way eastward with very heavy rainfall. Could be some flight delays in Atlanta. Meanwhile, in Houston, unfortunately, there were several deaths reported yesterday as those severe storms move through. Notice there's a chance of rain today and tonight, but it will be drying out for the weekend, so it will be a lot drier across southeast Texas for Saturday and Sunday. Meanwhile, Saturday afternoon, you can see some of those storms working their way into the Oklahoma City today. It will be 77 degrees under partly sunny skies. Dallas, 84 degrees, small chance of a shower or storm, otherwise partly sunny. Austin, San Antonio in the 80s, but New Orleans at 87 degrees. Could be some severe storms or even some flooding to watch for. The flood watch is in effect through Saturday for places like Pensacola, Florida, Mobile, Alabama, southern areas of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, where too much rain could result in more flooding. I'll be back in 10 minutes with another update.
Well, if you're just joining us or heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. 4 people are dead in Houston following severe storms. Officials say at least 2 were killed by falling trees and 1 was killed as a crane was. The criminal hush money trial for Donald Trump is taking a break today so the former president can attend his son's high school graduation. Trump's youngest son, Barron, is graduating high school in Florida. The former president then heads to Minnesota for a campaign event. And 2 House committees voting to advance contempt of Congress proceedings against Attorney General Merrick Garland. Biden has asserted executive privilege over the audio recordings. Garland refused to provide Congress for their impeachment inquiry. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. It's time now for our political buzz. Our Jason Fechner is here now to break everything down. Jason, I want to ask you about this back and forth yesterday between Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett. Let's take a listen.
What you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Yeah, quite a scene to watch there. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jasmine Crockett definitely not holding back. Representatives Ocasio-Cortez and Lauren Boebert also in the mix of all this there. And as you kind of watch the back and forth quickly, the other members of Congress, beside a couple smirks or smiles, didn't quite know how to react to this. Kind of very awkward there in the chambers. And I want to say the chairman, Representative Jim Comer, at some point blamed his hearing aids and said that he wasn't able to hear what was going on. So an awkward day there in that committee meeting. And of course, blame who you will for the state of American politics. But this is kind of where we're at right now. And I don't think that things are going to change anytime soon.
And it certainly isn't the first time something like this has happened. Donald Trump off from court today to attend his son Barron's high school graduation. There was a big back and forth between Judge Juan Merchan and Trump over him being able to attend this event. But it's not the only thing he's doing today.
No, that's right. And you'll remember he had pushed for this son's high school graduation, but he's going to be grabbing that graduation cake to go and on his way to Minnesota for the Lincoln Reagan dinner there, a fundraiser for the state GOP. Trump has kind of been pushing for this. This is a pet project to try to flip Minnesota. It has not gone Republican since 1972 and Richard Nixon. Trump looking to flip that state, of course, come November. And again, a fundraiser for the state party there, but I'm told that photo opportunities, Trump and his campaign will be able to keep the proceeds from that there in Minnesota later this evening.
And Trump will be back in court on Monday. Meantime, the New York Times is reporting that an upside-down American flag was flown outside of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's house on January 17, 2021. Now, this was just after the Capitol riots. The justice denying he had any involvement, saying it was his wife. Jason, what's going on here?
House, this is when the High Court was still debating a case and considering whether or not to weigh in on a 2020 election case. At the time, Alito ended up being on the losing side of that argument, of course, again, blaming his wife, saying that she was trying to get back at a neighbor who had an anti-Trump sign in their yard there. So she had hung this flag, and it was only up for a short period of time. You'll remember all this comes, of course, in the midst of criticism of Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, who was part of the Stop the Steal movement there. So Chief Justice John Roberts, another difficult day there for him in our nation's capital on the High Court as he tries to kind of put this into context.
All right, Jason, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
President Biden signing a bipartisan reauthorization bill for the Federal Aviation Administration into law yesterday. In a statement, the president said the bill will expand critical protections for air travelers, strengthen safety standards, support the controllers. Now, this comes as the TSA says it expects to set new travel records this summer. The agency believes it will screen more than 3 million passengers on some peak travel days. The House of Representatives voting to force President Biden to end his blockade of certain weapons to Israel. While the vote largely went along party lines, 16 Democrats joined Republicans in approving the bill. It comes as the White House has halted shipments of bombs and artillery shells to Israel as it escalates its offensive in Rafah. The president is concerned about exacerbating the dire humanitarian situation there and has made it clear he would veto the legislation should it make it to his desk. The White House is continuing to pressure Israel to allow more aid into the enclave, with the first deliveries to a new temporary U.S.-built pier arriving today. Texas Governor Greg Abbott pardoning Daniel Perry, a former U.S. Army sergeant convicted of murdering a protester during a Black Lives Matter rally, to recommend a full pardon and restore Perry's firearm rights. Under Texas law, a recommendation from the board is necessary before the governor can grant a pardon. Last year, Perry was sentenced to 25 years in prison for the death of Air Force veteran Garrett Foster. Coming up on Spectrum News, the 59th Academy of Country Music Awards was last night. Next thing you know, we'll let you know who won, who missed out.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
I'm meteorologist Julie Marquez with you. Very heavy rain and some strong and severe storms in the northern Gulf Coast for today. Areas of rain will continue across parts of Kentucky, Ohio, and eventually into parts of the Northeast. But you'll notice parts of the West still remaining fairly dry, just a little bit of drizzle in LA. But for the most part, we're looking at the drier conditions across the Southwest where you will be heating up. Now, a look ahead shows we have showers and storms breaking out of Montana and parts of the Dakotas today. Rain is expected again in Houston, although the chances will be lower compared to yesterday. We had all that severe weather. And then we have areas of rain and some thunderstorms working their way from the mid-Atlantic up into the Northeast. This is a look at Saturday morning with some rain in New York and in New Jersey. Meanwhile, parts of the Midwest will have a nice quiet start to the weekend. New York City, 75 degrees today. Boston is 66. Washington, D.C. is in the 70s. Atlanta, some rough tonight. Miami's 92 degrees, but there's a heat advisory in South Florida because you can combine those 90s with the high humidity. Heat index values, what it feels like, up to 105 this afternoon. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, we have Seattle mostly cloudy and 64 degrees. San Francisco's in the 60s. Denver is warming to 87 under mostly sunny skies. And they're feeling the heat in Las Vegas today, 100 degrees. Meanwhile, LA is 66 degrees, a little bit of drizzle or fog, otherwise partly sunny. The temperatures for today heating up into the 80s in Wichita, Kansas, Omaha, Nebraska, and in Minneapolis too. And then we also have that heat across Florida with highs in the 90s in most spots. Buffalo, 75 degrees today with a low tonight of 59 degrees. Columbus, Ohio is 64. Parts of Kentucky and Tennessee will be in the lower 60s. Will be in the 50s in Albuquerque. A look ahead should DC and in Philly today. Parts of the Midwest have a much better day today and on Saturday. The start of your weekend's looking good in Chicago and in Milwaukee. St. Louis a lot better than what you're dealing with this morning. And parts of the Northwest will also have some areas of rain start to move in, although it looks like Southern California will not have much of a rain chance. We'll have more for you coming up in the next 10 minutes.
Nearly 900,000 tea bags from organic tea brand Yogi are being recalled in the U.S. According to the Food and Drug Administration, excessive levels of pesticides have been detected on Echinacea support tea bags. The agency says this is a Class 3 recall, which means the product won't cause major health problems. There have been no reports of any related illnesses. A sandwich. And an Indiana judge has the answer. A man in Fort Wayne opened a taco shop in his single-family home, but he was in an area zoned for restaurants that serve only sandwiches, a move to keep out chain burger restaurants. Well, he took his case to court, arguing tacos are Mexican sandwiches, and a judge agreed, ruling both tacos and burritos qualify as sandwiches. The 59th Academy of Country Music Awards held last night. Nashville star Lainey Wilson scooping up the night's biggest honor.
The Entertainer of the Year award goes to Lainey Wilson.
Now, she joined in an exclusive category with her win becoming only the 4th woman to earn the award alongside Miranda Lambert, Carrie Underwood, and Taylor Swift. National Bike to Work Week wrapping up. The week promotes heading into the office on to work for years.
Leah Sharkey's been biking for most of her life.
My fiance bought me a rack and panniers for my bike, and so I decided to try riding to work. And the first day I did it, I was like, wow, why have I not been doing this longer?
She's on her way home from work. She's been cycling there for the past 14 years, also taking part in charity rides to keep herself healthy and participating in long-distance cycling events. She says she was pleasantly surprised by the experience.
I was a little bit nervous about riding downtown at rush hour, but honestly, I found it to be very smooth, and people would let me cut over to make the left-hand turn at Ontario, and it was fine. And I never had a problem riding downtown.
In 2023, 550 people were hit by advocates for safe cycling in Northeast Ohio. Sharkey agrees that safety is always top of mind during her twice-weekly rides into work.
There's always room for improvement. Cleveland has gotten exponentially better since I started this.
And she hopes as conditions on the road improve, more people will join her. That's why Bike Cleveland is offering classes for those who want to start biking but are nervous.
And just trying to help them get acclimated to, low stress areas, to eventually working with them to get back into those roadways that could be a little bit stressful.
For Sharkey, cycling is a form of therapy.
A 45-minute ride each way, it kind of perks me up. In the morning it wakes me up and I get to work kind of energized. And then after a long, stressful day at work, getting on my bike, I can just unwind. So.
For Spectrum News, I'm Wiley Jahari.
Really sounds like a Schwinning program. And you can always stay connected with us here at Spectrum News by getting your national and local headlines on the go. Just download the free Spectrum News app. It's available in the App Store and on Google Play. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out."